galaxy had always underestimated humans. To most alien civilizations, we were fragile, emotional, weak, the kind of species you could rule with a fleet of drones and a handful of disciplined warriors. That's why I, Queen Lysira of the Zytheran Dominion, had chosen one as my mate. Not for strength, not for conquest, for kindness, for patience, for heart. I married Jiren Morin, a man who could barely lift a plasma rifle and whose hand shook at the thought of war. Everyone scoffed. Even my advisors whispered behind closed doors. A queen needs strength at her side, not a human who can't defend himself. For years, Jiren seemed to prove them right. He was gentle, calm, almost invisible to the political currents swirling around the throne, until the day the galaxy realized how wrong they had been. I first met Jiren on a diplomatic mission to Earth. Unlike most humans, he did not rush to impress, did not flaunt intellect or courage. He listened, he observed, he understood. I remember watching him on the observation deck of our shuttle, staring at the stars. "It's strange," he said softly. "All that fire and motion, and yet nothing here really cares about me." I laughed. That honesty, that humility, struck me more than any display of bravery ever could. By the time I proposed marriage, it was clear to me. He was powerless and yet perfect. Our wedding was extravagant. Zytheran nobles in gold-lined ceremonial armor. Aliens from dozens of species attended. And there was Jiren, standing beside me in human formal wear, hands fidgeting nervously, face pale, completely human. The first months were peaceful. He adjusted to palace life with quiet diligence, learning languages, protocols, and the delicate balance of court politics. Yet the nobles never stopped mocking him behind closed doors. "He cannot even lift his own drink," one whispered. "A queen deserves more," said another. And Jiren never responded. He smiled politely. He helped where he could. He healed when possible. He stayed powerless until the galaxy's cruelty forced him to awaken. The whispers of rebellion began subtly. Small riots in outer colonies, sabotage along supply lines, murmurs of dissent in sectors loyal to the Dominion. Zytheran advisors recommended drastic measures. Military crackdowns, executions, even planetary glassing. I refused. "You cannot solve every problem with blood," I said. "Your Majesty," one general replied. "And if your human mate is powerless, then who will enforce your mercy?" Jiren stepped forward. I had barely noticed him among the cluster of officers. His voice was quiet, but carried more weight than anyone expected. "Then perhaps we need a different approach," he said. "One that doesn't require violence." The room laughed. "Speak plainly, human," the general sneered. "Or leave." Jiren met the man's eyes. "Or we do both," he said calmly. That was the first time anyone realized Jiren was not as powerless as he appeared. Over the next weeks, he quietly gathered intelligence. Using human ingenuity, he discovered corrupt officials, exposed traitors, and devised strategies to pacify rebellious colonies without a single battle. The nobles began to notice. The generals began to panic. And yet, even then, he never revealed the full extent of his abilities. One night, I found him in the royal gardens, studying an ancient Zytheran relic. His fingers traced symbols I did not understand. "You're learning too fast," I said softly. He looked up, smiling faintly. "Perhaps I'm catching up to your world." I walked closer. "Do you ever feel powerless?" He shook his head. "Only when I pretend to be." And in that moment I understood. His humanity was not weakness, it was camouflage. A shield against a galaxy that would have crushed him the moment he showed his true strength. The breaking point came soon after. A coalition of 5 alien races marched on our capital, claiming the Dominion had grown corrupt under a queen influenced by a human. I sent emissaries. I offered negotiation. I offered compromise. They laughed. Our outer defenses crumbled within hours. Our fleets faltered. The nobles who once mocked Jiren turned to me in panic. "Your Majesty," they cried. "We need someone to fight." I turned to Jiren. He was composed, serene. "You have your chance," I said. "Do you?" He nodded. That night he revealed the truth. Jiren was not powerless, not by any measure. He had spent years studying Zytheran technology, human engineering, and alien warfare, synthesizing methods no one in the galaxy had anticipated. He had prepared not for court life, not for diplomacy, but for survival and justice. And now it was time. The battle began at dawn. Jiren moved through the ranks with calm precision. No shout, no charge, only the measured application of knowledge and strategy. He predicted enemy maneuvers before they happened. Traps he had prepared months ago activated automatically. Supply lines disintegrated under invisible sabotage. The alien coalition found themselves fighting not a king, not an army, but a mind that bent events like clay. Then he revealed his ultimate weapon. A device derived from Zytheran quantum matrices capable of immobilizing entire fleets without destruction, leaving them stranded, powerless, at our mercy. The galaxy had mocked him for years. Humans had been underestimated. And now every alien general who had sneered or whispered insults saw the truth. Jiren Morin, the gentle, powerless human, was a force beyond comprehension. The rebellion collapsed in hours. Entire fleets surrendered without resistance. When he stood atop the palace steps, surveying the remnants of the battle, he looked at me. "I never wanted to rule," he said softly, "but I will protect." I felt my heart break and swell at once. This man, my mate, my human, had carried the weight of the galaxy, and he had done it without arrogance, without cruelty. Only precision, mercy, and intelligence. The galaxy remembered the battle differently than I did. They remembered the power unleashed, the fleets immobilized, the coalition shattered. They remembered the human who had outwitted and outmaneuvered entire armies. I remembered Jiren, the quiet man who once feared a plasma rifle, who once apologized for spilling tea in my quarters, who once worried he was unworthy of a queen. He was not the same human anymore. He had become legend, and yet he remained gentle with me, tender, loving, humble. The court finally learned what I had known from the start. Strength is not always measured in weapons or fleets. Sometimes it is measured in wisdom, patience, and the courage to act when the time comes. Jiren had been powerless for years, and then he unleashed the truth. I took his hand as we stood on the palace balcony, watching the stars return to calm after the storm. "You were right," I said. "You were never powerless." He smiled, the first real smile since the battle ended. "I was always human, and now, he whispered, I am yours, and together we protect more than a throne. We protect a galaxy." I pressed my forehead to his. "I love you. I love you too," he said. The galaxy could tremble at the mention of his name, could fear the quiet, meticulous human who had undone entire fleets. But I knew the truth. The power had always been there. Not in violence, not in conquest, but in him. In his heart, in his mind, in his humanity. And that was the greatest strength the universe had ever seen. Please follow my channel for more videos. One click from you can change my life.